One strange night, a boy is jolted awake when his neighbor rushes in frantically, urging him to run. His family has been killed, accused of aiding the partisans, and if the enemy finds him, he'll meet the same fate. Before they can flee, soldiers armed with rifles appear. With no time to think, the woman pushes the boy out the window, giving her life so he can escape. Seryozha keeps running as the sounds of gunfire and burning houses fade behind him. The boy calls out for his mother again and again, wishing it was all just a nightmare. His life goes from happy family time to orphaned and desperate, real fast. The next day, thirst drives him to a riverbank. But before he can even breathe, danger appears once again. He spots enemy soldiers and quickly hides beneath the root of a tree. And just when you think things couldn't get any worse, a snake slithers inches from his face. The fear surging through him is unimaginable, but he stays perfectly still, knowing if he screams, it's game over. When the soldiers finally move on, Seryozha crawls out of his hiding place, scavenging scraps of food left behind, which is barely enough. Exhaustion weighs heavily on him with every step, but he keeps moving. Along the way, Seryozha spots a patch of berries. Finally, something good for once. He hardly gets a bite in before an explosion erupts behind him. The blast leaves him dizzy, his senses spinning. He begins to hallucinate, convinced that someone is following him with every step. Even then, he stands his ground and growls that he has a rifle, and he isn't afraid. Soon after, he collapses into sleep, where dreams take him home again, to his mother pouring milk for him and his older brother. Just when it seems like hope is lost, a group of Soviet soldiers stumbles upon him. They return to base carrying Seryozha, who remains startled until they gently reassure him that they're on his side. Their commander kneels beside the boy and introduces himself as Kuznetsov. Slowly, Seryozha opens up and introduces himself as well. Knowing the boy has already endured so much, the soldiers quickly surround him with warmth and care. Finally, he receives a proper meal, as the rotund cook brings him a steaming bowl of food. As morning settles quietly over the camp, the men sit outside, cracking jokes to take their minds off the war. Andrei, the soldier who found Seryozha, practices German and gets teased by Renzo, while Yakov Moisevich, the unit's tailor, patches up his uniform. Among them, Yegor Maximovich can't stop laughing at their banter, but peace never lasts long out here. Their lighthearted moment comes to an abrupt end when an enemy strike shatters the calm. Meanwhile, Nurse Katya tends to Seryozha's wounds. Charmed by his personality, she humors him when he asks her to draw a tank on his stomach, because he wants to become a soldier when he grows up and save people, since he couldn't do the same for his family. Not long after, Kuznetsov visits. Noticing the boy's fascination with his medals and weapons, he carefully removes the bullets from his pistol and lets him hold it. Seryozha, not wanting to miss the action, begins to mimic firing it, like he's John Wick. At that point, Kuznetsov quickly takes the pistol back and sets it aside. Seryozha can't hide his excitement as he shows the commander the tank sketched on his stomach, claiming that he's a soldier too. For the first time since everything fell apart, the little boy feels happy. In these soldiers, he's found the family he lost. Katya, who has grown attached to Seryozha, pleads with Kuznetsov not to send the boy to an orphanage. She promises to take care of him. But Kuznetsov isn't convinced. Raising a child in the middle of a war doesn't sit well with him. Later that night, Katya grows worried she might never find Seryozha if he gets sent away. She confides in Rita, another nurse, who replies with a smirk, saying Kuznetsov is so strict about orders, he probably sleeps with the rule book tucked under his pillow. After days pass, Yegor Maximovich speaks up on behalf of the soldiers, urging Kuznetsov to allow Seryozha to stay. He explains what the entire unit feels, that Seryozha inspires them to keep fighting and represents the very future they are risking everything to protect. Even so, Kuznetsov stays firm. Deep down, he wants Seryozha to stay. But more than that, he wants the boy to have a normal life. Soon after, chaos erupts again. Amid the storm of bullets and the thunder of tank fire, Katya drags a wounded soldier back to camp. Despite his injured arm, Kuznetsov pushes forward, leading the charge and making sure both Katya and the wounded are brought to safety. Not long after, Seryozha, now back on his feet, happily walks with Kuznetsov. But his mood shifts when told the heartbreaking words. He is to be sent to an orphanage. Before he leaves, Kuznetsov places a small wooden pistol in his hands as a parting gift. Seryozha hugs him before admitting his fear for Kuznetsov's safety and how he had been waiting for him anxiously. The words strike deep. Kuznetsov realizes he has no one to go home to, so he rips up the orphanage papers and decides to adopt the boy. Hearing this, the soldiers gather at Yakov Moiseevich's workshop. We see Katya and the men bursting with laughter as they debate over what size uniform could possibly fit Seryoja. Soon, the boy is moved to Kuznetsov's quarters. One morning, the commander wakes him with a surprise, a military uniform. Seryoja learns how to dress quickly, just like a real soldier. Finally, his dream of being part of the unit has come true. Just as he begins to enjoy the moment, the enemy decides it's the perfect time to rain bombs on the camp. Kuznetsov runs to protect his son and orders one of his men to take the child to safety. Seryoja can't bear the sight of losing the people he now sees as family, so he acts quickly, helping the wounded however he can. An injured soldier who has lost his sight asks Seryoja to read a letter from home. The boy can't read, so he just makes up a story on the spot. His words spark laughter among the injured. Then, he begins to sing for them. For a moment, the tension fades, and everyone gets emotional. After everything they've been through, his voice brings relief and hope to the wounded men. Later that day, Kuznetsov approaches Katya. It's clear he has feelings for her, but he can't summon the courage to say a word, something many of us can relate to. In the following scene, Seryoja walks alongside Kuznetsov, whom he now calls Papa, sharing how he has been confronting his fears. With determination in his voice, he declares that he wants to become Kuznetsov's assistant. Aware that everyone has a role to play in the war, he asks who made his uniform, eager to thank them personally. But what he finds instead are the ruins of the workshop, a painful reminder that not everyone survived. Together, they pause and pay their respects. Seryoja keeps insisting that the commander assign him his first duty and is given the task of distributing letters among the soldiers. The men are filled with excitement as they receive news from home. As part of tradition, anyone who gets a letter must dance. Something Seryoja finds amusing. One day, Seryoja wanders a little farther from the base with his binoculars. While playing with them, he spots a foot sticking out from a haystack. Knowing he can't handle it alone, he hurries back to Andrei, urging him to come check it out. Andrei is skeptical at first, but goes with him anyway. The soldiers arrive and set the haystack on fire, forcing out the enemy spies who are quickly captured. In their wildest imagination, they never thought they'd get busted by a kid with binoculars. Afterward, Seryoja happily returns to his mail duties, only to realize that not all soldiers live long enough to read their letters, which leaves him completely heartbroken. But his mood lightens when Kuznetsov shows him the adoption papers. He's now officially Seryoja's father. Excited, they hurry to share the news with Katya. Meanwhile, a soldier sneaks up on Katya like a creep, making unwanted advances. Just as she starts to get uncomfortable, Seryoja steps in, interrupting at the perfect moment. Kuznetsov, watching from a distance, decides to avoid the awkward situation. During another fierce battle, Seryoja moves through the trenches carrying ammunition. Yegor Maximovich, worried about the boy's safety, quickly takes the supplies and orders him back to the commander's bunker. At first, Seryoja resists, but a superior's command forces him to comply. From the bunker, he watches the chaos unfold, restless and eager to do more. Soon, another opportunity presents itself. He notices the commander and soldiers panicking over a broken phone line. When a soldier steps out to fix it, Seryoja sneaks out. Gunfire erupts from all directions, yet he presses forward. Seeing that the soldier is gravely injured, he asks him how to repair the wires and does it himself. Once the connection is restored, additional troops are called in. The boy saved everyone without them even realizing it. After the battle, Seryoja sits beside another soldier, gazing at the stars. As his thoughts wander, he comes up with a plan to bring Katya and his father together, having noticed the chemistry between them. The next day, he rushes to Katya and tells her that the commander is sick. Panicked, Katya drops what she's doing and hurries toward Kuznetsov's tent, only to find him fast asleep and perfectly fine. While Seryoja runs off, grinning that his plan worked, Kuznetsov tries to find the courage to express how he feels, but Katya is embarrassed and hurries out. After a brief pause, Kuznetsov goes after her. Meanwhile, Seryoja continues his day, using his binoculars to observe the camp. He spots some rescue dogs and hurries over to them. With permission, he climbs onto a wheeled stretcher while the dogs pull him along. The ride is fun until a stray cat suddenly distracts the dogs, sending them toward a nearby minefield. Realizing the danger, Renzo jumps on a motorcycle and stops the dogs just in time to keep Seryozha safe. Not long after, Kuznetsov catches up with Katya, and once again, he grows cold feet. Ironically, a man with courage on the battlefield can be so nervous when it comes to matters of the heart. But this time, he manages to say a word, just enough. Before Katya can respond, a soldier delivers a letter to Kuznetsov. On it were orders for the regiment to move out at dawn. They march along a rural road, eventually stopping at a village where they stay with the locals. There, Seryozha gets to be around children his own age, a feeling he had almost forgotten. Meanwhile, the soldiers discover a German bomb that has torn through the roof and floor of a house. Luckily for the family, it didn't explode. They quickly dispose of it before it can cause any harm. Soon after, the unit continues its journey. Seryozha hitches a ride with Renzo and his father, still pretending to shoot with his wooden pistol. As the convoy moves forward, a landmine suddenly detonates beneath them. Seryozha, though dazed, somehow survives, along with Kuznetsov. But fate isn't as kind to Renzo, the soldier who had saved him earlier. After the tragic incident, the regiment finally reaches its destination. While Kuznetsov meets with the general, Seryozha walks in and eagerly asks for another task. Amused, the general assigns him to inspect the soldiers' equipment. When Seryozha arrives, the men can't help but laugh. They don't take him seriously, joking around and offering him tea and chocolate instead. Despite being just a boy, Seryozha handles the situation admirably. He refuses their treats and insists they follow orders. One by one, the soldiers line up for inspection. After carefully checking their uniforms and boots, Seryozha instructs an officer to write down the names of those with damaged gear. Then, proudly, he returns to the general's office to deliver his report. Wanting to repay his father for all his kindness, Seryozha also makes a bold request that the general grant permission for Kuznetsov and Katya to get married. Later that night, Kuznetsov tells Seryozha about a prestigious award, reserved only for soldiers who have shown great bravery. The boy realizes he might receive one himself. Excited, he begins to daydream, picturing himself stepping forward to accept the medal in front of his comrades. But the fantasy is cut short as enemy bombs rain down from the sky. As Seryozha barely makes it to cover, he watches in horror as Kuznetsov is buried beneath the wreckage of his bunker. Panic surges through him. He rushes forward, trying to move pieces of debris and chunks of wood with all his strength, but it won't budge. It's too heavy, too much for him alone. Desperate, he calls for help. Soldiers race to the scene and manage to rescue their commander, though not without injuries. In the field hospital, Katya tends to Kuznetsov, while Seryozha almost never leaves his side. The sight of his injured father makes him relive the terrible moments he experienced with his family. Tears stream down Seryozha's face, but Kuznetsov struggles to stay strong, reminding him that men don't cry. This powerful and emotional story is inspired by the real-life experiences of Sergei Alexeyev, a 6-year-old who bravely fought alongside the Soviet Union. In 1993, he was awarded the Medal of Honor for his extraordinary courage. If you enjoyed this recap, please like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel.